This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is the PC muscle race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
Hey, what's poppin'?
Hello, LeRon.
What's up, man?
It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Mm-hmm. This wonderful Wednesday evening.
This is wonderful Wednesday evening.
Yeah. You know why it's wonderful?
Why is it wonderful? Oh, I know why it's wonderful. It's wonderful because Stephanie's back. That's why it's wonderful.
You're supposed to say, why is that?
Yeah, you stole his thunder, LeRon.
Yeah, exactly. That was my plan.
We have the grand return of the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
The obligatory estrogen presence in the group. Hello.
Yeah, last week it was Matt.
He wasn't estrogen, though.
Oh, man. Also here is PK Power, Pat Klein.
Bring in your daily dose of testosterone and dirty jokes.
That's what you are, Pat. You're the epitome of testosterone and...
That's right.
Man.
When you look up man in dictionary, you see a picture of me.
Yeah. 3 pictures of you, actually, and doing standing, sitting, and...
Pooping.
Gaming, I guess.
Or gaming while pooping.
Oh man, that's the best.
I've done that before.
That's the best. Man, I remember when I was playing Destiny on the Vita remote play in the bathroom at our old apartment. It was awesome.
And your wife would be like, "What are you doing in there?"
She was
like, "What? Nothing."
Doing
are you playing video games again? Man, you could be normal and masturbate like everyone else. But no.
Right. Man. Good times. Remember that GameCube ad where the with the Wavebird ad where the ad was at the point of view from the bathroom and they had the door half shut, but the mirror on the door was showing the TV with the GameCube.
Yeah.
That was a good ad.
Yeah.
It was a great ad, actually. Oh, I miss those days. Now you just take your Switch in there and shut the door and hide.
Nintendo really should get on a commercial with that.
You can hide unless you have kids. I don't know. I feel like my kid still doesn't respect the fact that I'm in the bathroom with the door closed.
Nope. My daughter bangs on the door and she's like, I need to go. And I'm like, so do I. Use the other one. And then she'll just open the door anyway. So.
Thanks for knocking.
Yeah. Good times, kids. Am I
right? Right. Eventually they'll get grossed out. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Good. Anyways, everybody's week going good? Great?
Yes. I'm wrapped up in my nostalgia blanket.
Ooh, Blockbuster blanket. That's fun.
I finally reached that age where I'm buying everything that reminds me or is from the 90s.
Everything's vintage. Yeah.
It's not good, guys. It's kind of an addiction now.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of like Ninja Turtle toys, like original, like that NECA made this line of Ninja Turtle toys that are from the original movie. They have the 12-inch ones, and then they have the 7-inch ones.
Gosh,
yeah,
it's too much.
That's why you get the 7-inch one.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because it's cheaper. They're still like $40 a piece, though. The 7-inch ones. The 12-inch ones are like $150 to $200, depending on which turtle you get. Don't even bother getting Raph with a trench coat, okay? Because you're going to be making a mortgage payment on that guy.
Raph with a trench coat?
Listen, I need to share this.
Yeah, Raph. From the movie. Remember when he puts a trench coat on and tries to go see a movie, and then he fights Casey Jones?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah. And then my parents took me to go see that movie in the theater, the first one, and I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 or something. And Raph says damn twice. And then,
And then they crush
my mom was like, "Oh,
garbage
you
truck.
can't watch this movie. They curse in this movie." I was like, "Too bad. We're already here. Already here. Watching it."
Wait, is your mom one of those people that clutches their pearls when there's curse words on something?
Yeah, but then she turns around and uses them all the time. So it's one of those things. This was a terrible Monday, everybody. I have to tell you this story, this sad story. LeRon already knows because he was on Pal Block this week. But the Browns lost their best player to a season-ending injury.
It's not that
Sounds
terrible.
like the Jets.
He's our best player.
Oh, that's true. You know what? Never mind. The Jets didn't lose their best player, did they?
No. Yes, actually they did. Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah,
Sure
they lost
did.
their best player.
Yeah.
Wait. Now, if you think you're from Wisconsin, no, that's rough to say.
Mm.
You know, if he wasn't such a diva, we'd be more upset about it. But
maybe you should just give up.
I don't know. Is he such a diva? I really don't.
he is a diva. Holy shit!
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, kind of, yeah.
At least you didn't pay $230 million for a less than mediocre quarterback who was suspended for a year and a half.
Oh, you still on that tip, huh?
Oh man, it's more than the tip, man. It's like all the way in and swirling around, and then you'll never poop right again. It's fine. We only gave up 3 first-round draft picks, and I don't know. I don't know, man.
So what came up? What came up with that guy? By the way, like did they ever prosecute his ass?
Nope.
Is he still in the league?
He's our quarterback. He's our starting quarterback.
The way you were saying this, I thought you were saying it's like his ass was gone.
No, he was suspended before we traded 3 draft picks and then signed him to a 5-year, $230 million deal, all guaranteed. He's the first player to ever have a fully guaranteed contract in the NFL. Yeah. Great.
Okay.
He's got to use all that money to pay off these women he's allegedly sexually harassed. Oh man, it's a great time to be a Browns fan, everybody. It's all right. We signed Kareem Hunt today, and he was our backup running back last year, and then we cut him because we weren't going to pay 2 top-tier running backs. And here we are.
You weren't going to pay 2 top-tier quarterbacks?
Running backs. Sorry.
Running backs. I'm sorry. Running backs. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sounds like a personal problem for your team,
dude. I mean, it's been 30 years of this shit, man.
It's the Browns.
They're bad, and then Art Modell sells the team to, or he moves the team to Baltimore, and they become the Ravens. Then we come back in 1999 as an expansion team, and we've been terrible every year except for like 2 years. 3 years maybe, and since 1999 we've made the playoffs 3 times, and we've only won 1 playoff game. And then we got rid of Baker Mayfield, who's having a hell of a season this year, by the way. And now we have Deshaun Watson, who is yikes. He was good before he took a year and a half off. Oh man, he's bad. Anyways, enough of this. Isn't Boss Rush Sports Talk Radio here.
It's not.
No, dude. He threw 2 interceptions and threw 1 for a touch. Like he scored more Pittsburgh touchdowns than Pittsburgh did on Monday night. Okay.
I'm gonna use the exact same line I used Monday night when you were going through all this. Cry about it.
I did. When Nick Chubb got hurt, I was very upset. Oh man.
How long is he projected to be out? Have they
the whole
said
season
yet?
at least?
Oh, he's done. He done.
Tore all 4 ligaments in his knee and dislocated it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because his shit kind of like inverted on itself.
Yeah. You want to see the video, Stephanie? It's really gnarly.
Yeah. Rodgers is acting like he'll be back by playoffs time.
I know.
He
He's
just
not
needs
going to be
to
back.
match
It's an Achilles tear.
Dude, what's going on? Are you eating HGH? Like, what's going on? You thinking you're going to heal that fast?
Yeah, I know, man.
It was his his shaman told him so.
Ah.
Like my best friend ruptured his Achilles tendon. It took him 8 months
Mhm.
to get back into not so much fighting shape, just like shape.
Listen, anytime I hear any Achilles, any sort of injury, like, oh, my skin crawls.
Yeah, man, you would have
As it should.
you would have not liked the Nick Chubb injury. He got hit in the knee with the helmet, and his leg literally bent the other way. Like
Yeah,
it was so bad that ESPN refused to show the replay, and they don't care. Like, it's ESPN; they don't care about injuries, right? That's how bad it was.
Mm-mm.
So, speaking of injuries and my injury-ridden heart, let's talk about what games we've been playing. Stephanie, you've been gone for a while. What are you playing?
I got a lot done. So I beat the main line of Pikmin. Yes, I know there's other areas post, but I at least rolled credits. So since
Pikmin
then,
4?
huh? Pikmin 4, yes,
Pikmin
sorry.
4?
Pikmin 4.
Nice.
Yes. So I moved forth with lots of games. I beat Oxenfree 2, which may be something we talk about later. I also beat Beacon Pines, which also might be something we talk about later. I started A Space for the Unbound. I'm continuing Alan Wake, hoping to complete Alan Wake before Alan Wake 2. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Normally, I cannot handle scary games, but for some reason, with Alan Wake,
Alan Wake's not a scary game.
Yes, it is.
thank you, Corey.
It's a thriller.
I don't do thrillers. Thrillers are scary. We don't
Yes.
need it. Get that out of here.
So, but maybe that's kind of the line it drew. Because whenever I was in a dark area and the shadows were like coming to get me, I don't know. I would just kind of run around them, flash them with a little light, flash them. Well, I mean,
Oh
Flash
boy.
'em.
so it's a lot of fun. I mean, the dodging mechanic, it's not the modern dodging mechanic, so to meaning like he doesn't run very fast. I'm used to games where you could like
Yeah, he
dodge.
does not run fast.
And
Bro, the guy's a writer.
Yes, I
He
know,
ain't
but
an
like
athlete.
usually you'd see like a stamina meter or something to tell like when you'll start not being able to run. So here I am sprinting, and all of a sudden I hear, which is fine, but like there was no indicator of when he'd run out of stamina because I would use that if I'm getting ganged up by a bunch of shadow people. So like, if anything, it's just like a little frustrating. But no, I'm enjoying the game. So, and I can imagine that Alan Wake 2 will be, will have more modern controls. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I hope they take a page out of Controls.
Yeah, I would like to think so. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'll temper my expectations.
I think with this modern era, right, and especially when they're in the same universe, I bet
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they're going to try to unify their controls and stuff. I mean, I know Alan Wake is kind of like a exploration shooter type thing, but and Control will use the buttons for the powers and stuff. But I think movement and all that kind of stuff will kind of be unified.
Yes. And then lastly, that I could talk probably a little bit more about is I played and beat Mount.
Hold on. Did you put the lime in the coconut?
I hate you.
Mm.
Did you turn on the karaoke machine? Or not the karaoke? Yep.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Whew.
Continue.
Continuing. Where was I?
Lime in the coconut. Let's
no,
go.
No. We're changing the subject. Actually, melon journey, kind of in a similar but not similar, different fruit. I played Melon Journey, Bittersweet Memories, which is put out by Xseed Games, and it has a very Game Boy look to it. I love the game. I think I had this conversation when Kim Chica or Jenny from
Kepler.
no, I know Kepler. I was trying to think Wholesome Games as well.
Games.
She was talking about it, and I finally was able to play it. I was kind of in the mood for a Game Boy-like game. I had so much fun. I was clicking on every single thing, and I could tell it is a modern version of a Game Boy-like game because so much detail went into it. I could literally click on anything and I'd get just some random little line. It's the humor is very clever. It's a quickish game. Didn't overstay its welcome. The soundtrack's pretty good. Um, and I really loved it. I was pleasantly surprised. And I bought it physical from PlayAsia, so I also got the CD soundtrack for it, so which is great. So I loved Melon Journey. It was definitely a game that surprised me, and I will remember it fondly.
How long was that game? I heard it's kind of on the short side.
It is. I think for me it took like 4 hours. At, and I might even be exaggerating that. It's not very long at all.
I might need to borrow that from you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's me literally clicking everything. And I was even because you have this main quest of finding your friend. Or I bored LeRon to death. He just left.
Yeah.
But there's also side quests where each of the kind of NPCs that you make friends with has their own quest that you can help them with. So I was trying to 100% it, but I think after you reach a certain point in the game, because it goes by day, if you miss it, then you can't really go back. So I missed one. I missed one. So
I hate it when that happens.
and I'm not a stickler for 100%ing things. So if I'm actually into getting all the side quests done, I know that's a game that I like. So I've played a lot. And then just super quick, I won't make it a big show and tell, but I have been going on a retro spree, and I've discovered perhaps the best retro gaming store in Massachusetts, because Massachusetts doesn't have a lot of great retro gaming stores. But it's called Bowser's Basement. I think I've texted you guys a couple times. I've frequented the store a little bit more than I should during my off period, because what else am I going to do while I'm recovering and not allowed to do anything? It's spend money, right? So I've been slowly collecting Game Boy games and N64 games, because even though I know N64 games aged horribly, that's my first console, so I'm just married to that nostalgia. So I have Forsaken 64, Perfect Dark, Gauntlet Legends, Bomberman 64, a couple of them, and then for Game Boy, I got Conker's Pocket Tales and Shadowgate Classic to start. So I'm slowly collecting games that maybe I should not really be spending my money on. But I'm telling you, Corey, once that Pocket Analog gets restocked, it looks amazing. You can play all Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games.
And then you can buy adapters for it too that play Game Gear games, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and there's another portable system that I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it definitely makes the graphics just a little bit better, the sound a bit better. I'm and it's nice. It's very sexy looking. It's sleek. It's gorgeous.
They make glow in the dark ones now.
Yes,
they're the latest one is translucent with glow in the dark stuff.
But I not that you would know because you don't work for them or anything, but any idea when you think how long it takes for item restocks? Because I only waited a week between when you first recommended it till when I decided to buy it, and within that 1 week, it went from pre-order to sold out. I'm what the?
Yeah, they sell out pretty quickly because it's kind of a niche item, so they only order so many at a time.
Fair. But would you say they definitely will restock? It's not maybe.
I think so. I don't think it's because they've done an NES emulated thing, not emulated, but it you can play your NES games on this thing with HDMI out and stuff, right? And they've done a Super Nintendo one and they've done a Genesis one. Those are old and you can't find them anymore, but they restock as long as there's demand.
And I figure the Analog Pocket is relatively on the newer side, so
I think it came out last year, early last year.
So there's still I would think that there might still be demand then.
Yeah, I would say they restock fairly regularly, not every week or something, but every probably every couple months or so.
Okay,
Every
I'll keep
month
an
or
eye on it.
two.
I didn't find a Twitter or X account on them, but
Yeah. I
But
forget
anyway.
what the company's called that makes them, but
oh,
I
good.
think it's just called Analog.
It's called Analog,
Mhm.
and I
So
like it.
right, and
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat it again. I wrote a top 5 new hardware for 2023, and the Analog Pocket is there. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's what
I
I've
r-
been. Sorry, what?
Oh, I was gonna say I really like the black one.
I like the black one, but speaking of like the
Holy shit! It's $250.
hmm It also
Wow.
comes with a dock, or you can purchase a dock to play them on your TV too, and it takes
Yeah,
any Bluetooth controller.
but here's the thing.
Glow in the dark.
I love the green glow in the dark, and the reason why I figured, okay, I'm definitely going to get this because I like an idiot sold my functioning Game Boy Color thing. I was going to repurchase it with backlighting, but to purchase a
Mhm.
Game Boy Color with backlight is like 170, 180 bucks at on eBay. So I'm like, I might as well get a Analog Pocket for just a little bit more and be able to play
Yeah.
all the games. So that's
Mhm.
kind of where I made that judgment call. I'm like, well, why buy a used old thing? And anyway, I'm
Yeah.
rambling.
The cool thing
So
about the Analog Pocket too is that it comes with an SD card slot that you can load emulators onto, so you could technically play like I think anything 16-bit or I don't know if it goes up to 32-bit or like like PS1 era, but it doesn't have an analog stick, so I don't know if you would.
yeah,
Or shoulder buttons. It has shoulder buttons, right? Like 2 shoulder buttons, maybe.
that's
Game Boy
cool.
Advance ish.
So
So
that's all I've been playing. Yeah, I've covered a lot of ground since I've been out, which is good. As much as I did not want to be out while I was out, half the reason was for the audience. I had some minor surgery and some recovery complications. I'm sure, Corey, you've talked about this before. Sometimes it's like we are on a gaming podcast, but sometimes it's frustrating when we don't have the time to game.
mhm.
So I'm really glad I was able to get some out. So
Yeah, I've been thinking about taking a break at some point, like a week or so. Just because I don't know. I do this like 3 or 4 times a week, right? So I mean it's I don't know. I just feel like I kind of need one. Um so maybe I don't know. We'll discuss that later. It's not
yeah,
important. Um well, since LeRon disappeared, he says his internet went out. Sure it did. His boyfriend
That's
came
what
over.
happened to mine.
the aliens are coming.
Yeah. Pat, what are you playing?
I played a lot of stuff too, and I
Shocker.
did it in a week because I have no life.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, but I suppose let's talk about some of the games I played. First off, we did get game number 32 of 40, Beacon Pines, which you can find out about our opinions in the next book club.
yeah, which will be out already for patrons by the time you hear this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But needs to say, it may have been a good game.
Maybe
Yes.
possibly. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. But to be 100% sure, listen to the next book club.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Other than that, I have been playing Liza P.
Mm.
I just picked that up.
The
And,
Bloodborne like.
It is very, very much like Bloodborne. It's definitely a Soulsborne game, but if you were to pit it against any of the types, whether it be a Dark Souls or Sekiro, it is definitely a Bloodborne. The game encourages you to be more offensive than defensive, mostly because if an enemy hits you, you lose some life, but you have a chance to regain it by hitting the enemy back.
Mm.
The downside is they also have that ability too. So
Oh,
an enemy can regain some health if they manage to get some good smacks in on your side. But this game is absolutely incredible. For a company that's never made a video game, they made probably the closest thing to a FromSoft game out of anyone that's ever tried to make one of these type of games. Like, this game is a marvel, and it's you could hardly tell that was from someone that was not FromSoft.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
in fact, it sometimes it even exceeds in some parts. The one thing I absolutely love about this game is that it tells a story. You know, it
mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to hide its story into the items, which it still does, to find out some of the more deeper lore. But you have characters, you have dialogue, you have cutscenes. Um, I mean, the game's just it's good. Like I'm really enjoying it.
Is
It
There's
is
it
hard.
a. Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead, Steph.
is it user
Oh,
friendly to those that aren't really good at Souls-like games?
no.
Oh,
No. It is still very much a Souls game. It is can be pretty hard. Um, like I said, if you played Bloodborne, you will definitely get like understand a little bit more with the mechanics of this.
hmm
But it's this game does not do anything to make itself easier. Basically, well, it might be a little bit easier if you like know how to use your abilities. Like the game is giving you plenty of opportunities to kind of customize how you want to play with your character. Um, like you can play with the sword, but eventually you can also get these grindstones that can give you elemental powers temporarily rather than wasted on an item.
hmm
Because the one thing I don't like, I always fear with the Soulsborne game is using items. Because if you use an item, but then you get your ass kicked, you just wasted the item.
Mhm.
You'll never get the item back again. So it's like I don't want to. I fear wasting them. And this is coming from a guy that grew up playing retro RPG, so you hoard every single one of your items till you get to the very last boss. That's how that works.
Gotcha.
But
Nice.
it's a great game. I've already passed the parts of the demo. The demo originally had like 3 areas, and I've now beaten 6 bosses so
Ooh,
far.
okay.
Uh, Pretty cool one that tonight that looked like a walking furnace.
Walking furnace.
Yeah, he had like the furnace grill and like lava in his like stomach area, but he also had like this giant hammer fist and another fist that like was a flamethrower.
Let me
Hmm.
tell you something. Bosses or enemies that are of inanimate objects, I think, are creepier and scarier than what would be a living thing, in my
Well,
opinion.
there's definitely a lot of that because most of your enemies
Mhm.
are puppets.
Ooh.
Uh,
Yeah.
so story wise, this is a game that takes that kind of takes the story of Pinocchio and turns it into a Souls game.
Oh.
So you are the puppet. You're not necessarily called Pinocchio, but your father is Geppetto, that you're a creator. Then there's Sophia, who represents the Blue Fairy.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
Where's
and
Jiminy
then
Cricket at?
his name is Gemini, and he is in a little lantern that you carry,
Ooh.
and he's kind of like a personal computer and guide.
Neat.
Yep. And he's got a really good voice to him. Some of the other characters tend to be a little bit on the grating side. I just rescued this businessman that's lays on his Italian accent like super thick. He's like, "I'm the guinea. Welcome to my shop." And you know, it's like it's
Bit
like
much.
a low pitched Mario.
Ooh.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's it's a great game though. I'm having a lot of fun. It's free on Game Pass, so like there really is no reason to not check it out. I think there's demos on all the systems too.
Perfect.
But it is a Souls game, so if you find yourself getting easily frustrated, this might not be the game for you.
Oh,
Um,
thank goodness for Game Pass, though.
yep. Uh, I also picked up another game that also lies heavily on the was a misogynist side. Uh, Blasphemous 2.
Hmm.
So, if you never played Blasphemous 1, this is a game that is heavily inspired by the Spanish Inquisition. This game is like the scenery kind of is inspired by Seville, Spain, which is it's made by a Spanish team that actually is in Seville. So it's got a lot of very big Gothic cathedral looks to it.
Mhm.
Very like really heavy on the Catholicism themes, especially themes of like penitence and like trying to redeem yourself of your sins,
Like
and like
atonement.
atonements
Mm.
and just like everyone speaks in like gospel terms too. So in terms of story, it's really hard to understand, and I even hear like blasphemous scholars have trouble understanding this the story in it. But it's the imagery is very like holy shit. Like they got some creepy ass like Catholicism imagery, like brutally dark, brutally like I don't know, it's like righteous or like it's holy, but it's not. I don't know.
It's
Really how.
it's back in the time, well, not that that was the only time it happened, where humans kinda people used religion or Catholicism to kind of push people upon their will and kind of take advantage of people and exploit them, and it's super creepy, right? It's like all in the name of
Yep.
yeah. Oh gosh.
But
Oof.
like pain and torture was a sign of how you were being forgiven of your sins, was that you had to suffer. And that's a lot of the imagery in this is
Oof.
suffrage.
That's sick.
Um,
Oh, that's sick.
yeah, like in the very first one, your character when he grabs his sword,
Mm,
the sword its handle has thorns on it, and the thorns are like attach themselves into his skin. Like that.
mm,
That's kind of the first imagery of like suffering. Um, but you see all these other like miserable looking people, but they're happy to be miserable because they are repenting and stuff. The story behind it is a special phenomenon called the miracle has blessed these people's lives, and the miracle is kind of what it sounds like. It's these uh, like holy apparitions and like a phenomenon that has happened into this world. But on the negative side, a lot of people couldn't handle them, and they turned into like deformed monsters of various kinds, and like inflict suffering. But these people are okay with the suffering because they see the holy. And you play as the penitent one, and your job is to basically get rid of the miracle because the miracle is like not really being helpful to people. It looks holy, but it's not like it's doing more harm than good. And so that happens in the first game. The second game is a direct sequel. Apparently, people like want to suffer still, and so they almost call back the miracle.
oh, they didn't learn their lesson the first time, huh?
No, like they're finally like have the ability to like think for themselves and to you know do their own lives, but they they miss the miracles that the miracle performed, and they need something to outwardly like express their guilt and their suffering.
Mhm.
So the miracle in a sense is coming back, and not only is it coming back, it's giving birth to something.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it's like a form of this like gigantic heart in the sky, um, that's hovering over this cathedral that has these three giant statues that lifted it up in the air. And so your first task is to find the three regrets of the miracle. And by finding these regrets, you're essentially going to cause the cathedral to lower down to where you can get it. Um, and it's yeah, it's a lot of very interesting imagery. This one girl, this one woman who gives you the ability to upgrade your health files, kind of in a Bloodborne way. Like she freely wants to give up her blood, and she has these little cherubims like flying over her. The first time, like when you meet her, they're kind of like playing around with like the hem of her like sleeve, like that's her sleeve of
Mhm.
her outfit, and they're just kind of like pulling at it. And then once you get your first vial and you come back and visit her, they're already like peeling the skin off her arm, and you see this like bloody, bony like hand, while the cherubims are like holding around like the flap of like her skin
Oh.
that they're gently peeling off her.
Ooh.
Like it's suffering imagery. Gameplay. This is a 2D Metroidvania, so. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's something about this history that it's fascinating. Like just how dark something that we perceive as holy can be. Um, and you definitely see a lot of the Spanish influence in the game. It's even included in the music with some very melodic guitar strumming
Mm-hmm.
and other things. Like that's just it's beautiful. It's pixelated but beautiful, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I love learning more and seeing what more creative grotesqueness that they can create with this game.
Nice. Yeah, I missed out on the initial Blasphemous train, so that's why I'm kind of like a little reserved whenever I hear another 2D Metroidvania. But I know that it was a relatively popular title when the first one came out, so I'm on the fence and
Yeah,
kind of start. You know.
just because it has those Castlevania vibes,
Mm,
but it's like darker Christian Catholicism
yeah,
than Castlevania is.
gotcha.
Um, Other than that, I played some Star Ocean. I now know why the game, or not Star Ocean, Sea of Stars. I now know why the game is called Sea of Stars.
Hmm.
So I feel like I'm getting pretty close to the end. If I wasn't distracted by Liza P, I would hopefully have Sea of Stars done by this weekend.
Wow.
We'll see if I can get that, though.
What number
How many
game would
hours
that
have you
be?
put into it?
About 25 right now. Yeah. It's nice, though. That game, like, the story just gets better, and, it's got great characters and excellent music, and each, like, level. There's really only one level I didn't care for, and I felt just because it went too long. But other than that, most of the levels are top-notch. But, yeah.
DLC coming for that apparently next year.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently
You know what?
they're. Oh, sorry, Steph. Go.
No, I was going to say that I could see that happening. Like I could see them continuing on, just because now what I know of what I know, like they could really do a lot with this game.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Did you see the messenger Easter eggs at all?
There's a couple. Which one?
I don't know. I was just asking if you've seen them. I don't. Any specific.
One of the islands is actually the island that the messenger takes place in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's definitely a prequel, not like fully directly involved with the messenger, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But it takes place in the same world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have, but I kind of fell off Sea of Stars because I was also playing Beacon Pines. I'm not going to say much, obviously, because of book club, and you guys can go listen to that at some point if you're a patron, and it's already out. So, but I want to say when you guys we have a group chat trying to talking about what book club games we're going to pick and stuff, and when you guys mentioned that, I was like, let's pick something short because we're running out of time, and that was the game we settled on. And as soon as I started it up, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to play this game at all. I don't want to play this. It's like a choose your own. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure game, but it's not, because there's definitely like specific things you have to do, but like you can't unlock those specific things you do unless you move forward. The game works on these things called charms, and it's kind of like fill in the blank with these charms. The charms have specific words on them, and you have to use the right ones in the right chapters and stuff. But I really think once I figured it out, I was invested in the characters. Like I was really invested in the story and the characters, and I went from thinking I was going to hate it to it's probably going to be on my game of the year list at some point. So it's on Game Pass. It's also on Switch for $20. I would assume it's also on PlayStation. So it's really cute. I would say if you like Telltale style games, almost, I would say you will probably like this. It's not exactly a Telltale game, but I would say it's in that vein almost of like, walking around looking for stuff, making choices. You can go back and make new choices. So I definitely used the guide though, because I didn't feel like I don't know, not wasting time, but kind of wasting time trying to pick and choose which words were the correct ones. So True Achievements has some great guides, by the way. So I played that this weekend. That's game number 8 I've beaten this year, which is 4 times as many as I beat last year.
Nice.
And then I got sucked back into Dreamlight Valley, but I won't bore anybody with that. So pretty hard, actually.
Is the Beast Beauty and the Beast expansion satisfying you?
I haven't gotten that far yet because you have to finish the main quest to unlock that. And to finish the main quest, I have to level up other characters that are already on the island. And I, did not do that yet. So I'm working my way there. But the new event, though, is Halloween themed. And you can make your house look like the Tower of Terror from Disney World. You can buy like the Haunted Mansion like set piece. There's a bunch of stickers and props, and there's the costumes and stuff. So that's pretty cool too. So
I gotta actually see like a legit Haunted Mansion. I saw the Muppet version, but I feel like that isn't what Haunted Mansion is actually like.
You should watch the Eddie Murphy version. I haven't seen the new version, but you should watch the Eddie Murphy version. It's on Disney Plus if you have it already.
Yes, I do.
So the new one's coming to Disney Plus, I think, at the end of September, which
Just
has
in
like
time for
Rosario
Halloween.
Dawson and Owen Wilson and other people. So, by the way, speaking of Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka is amazing. The Star Wars show on Disney Plus is awesome.
I've heard
And I
good
don't
things.
know anything about Rebels or Clone Wars or Boba Fett's Shoop Doop Shop, whatever else this is related to.
This is
but-
related to the extended universe, or also as well, because they introduced. There was originally a very awesome villain.
Mm-hmm. The trilogy of books is amazing.
Yep. His name was Grand Admiral Thawne, and he was probably one of the most dangerous Imperials ever since Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And people were upset that when Disney came in and said that that universe doesn't exist anymore, like a lot of these characters, people were upset that they probably wouldn't get to see light in the Disney universe, but they took that character specifically and brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he was that awesome of a character.
Yeah. I was, the internet, they're like, you need to watch Clone Wars and Rebels to understand the story. And I'm like, I've never watched any of those. And within the first 10 minutes, I could tell you everything that happened. I'm like, you guys are dumb. The internet's dumb, guys. Fandom is dumb. So
I hear that they do like flashbacks to Clone Wars and stuff.
They do. Oh man, the 5th episode, that flashback was awesome because spoilers, I guess, for Ahsoka episode 5. So tune out for 10 seconds, I guess. But they brought Hayden Christensen back to play Anakin, and they did a big Clone Wars flashback of him being her master. And then there's this cool transition scene into him being Darth Vader. And then they show this really cool lightsaber fight. It's like Ahsoka is in the world between worlds, which is like you're not dead but you're not alive type thing, and she has to choose whether she wants to live or die, and then she has all these memories come flooding back, and it was really well done. I liked it. And then there's a cool lightsaber fight between Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson. It was really good.
I'm glad that they're giving Hayden another shot. Like,
yeah. Apparently he's gonna.
The trilogy did not give him good lighting.
Yeah. Apparently he's going to be more involved now, though, like moving forward. Like, there's rumors of like a live action version of the Clone Wars cartoon, but like really condensed.
You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing a live action Darth Vader. Like, give us some of the history while he's.
Did you watch Obi-Wan?
Yeah,
that was
cool. Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, that made just how dark they made Darth Vader in that. Like grabbing Obi-Wan and like
he's
putting
scary.
His face right into the fire.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
Yeah.
And he's just like slaughtering like villagers left and right just to lure out any Jedi sympathizers. It's like, dude. Wow.
Yeah, that show was pretty violent for like even for Disney, man, right? And then Andor was violent too. Andor was really good.
Andor was good.
So, but yeah, that's that show's good. I'm enjoying it. But anyways,
what is an ISP outage?
Internet service provider.
Oh, service. Oh, okay.
Is that what LeRon said?
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
He's out for the night.
I'm gonna have to pull his video from the cloud then. Zencastr finally did the thing I suggested 2 years ago, which was like let you download the cloud versions if something really messes up.
Oh wow, that took a long time.
Yeah, well, they're not exactly on top of things, so
yeah.
That's why for my job we ended our Zencastr relationship and started with Riverside. So, man, do we want? I mean, I know LeRon really wanted to talk about this topic. Do we continue with it, or should we do a different one?
Well, we could talk about the. I mean, you probably already did with like Nintendo Direct, or the Nintendo Pow Block, the Direct, and.
I mean, we can talk about the Nintendo Direct and the State of Play if we want. We don't usually do that stuff on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Really, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just to throw my opinion though about this whole Xbox leak thing, I think that that was uncalled for. Like, I don't know who leaked it.
The FTC did.
The fact, yeah, I've heard FTC most likely, but I've also heard possible like slip up of Microsoft lawyers. But either way, the fact that like I do not like what's his name, Warren something, like. He's literally just grabbing everything and just airing it out like dirty laundry. It's like, dude,
who, Tom Warren?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. I understand it's his job, but it's like I am literally gonna like take every little piece of information and just like be like, check this out, check this out, check this out. Oh look, I went through someone's underwear drawer. See what colored underwear they have. Look at this fancy one. Oh my gosh, they have granny panties. It's like. Really, like you're literally taking every little aspect and you're like just flashing it around so that everyone else could see. It's to me, I think that is just
obnoxious
for ethics and journalism.
Oh, I was excited. I read the whole thing.
No, I get what you're talking about. Like, cool for us to kind of get our hands into some juicy details, but it's very unprofessional.
Yeah, like that was a whole lot from Microsoft and a whole lot of spoilers that they would have liked to have told the public on their own and things that, you know what? Yeah, that's corporate talk between emails. Like you don't necessarily like want that to be aired out, but
also a lot of this stuff was from 2020 and 2021. So, I mean, Phil Spencer responded to it today. And said that he was saddened that all this stuff got leaked and that so much has changed, and he's upset for his team because, they put a lot of work into this stuff. There is a lot of stuff in them that's super interesting, though, like the all digital Xbox Series X with double the storage and the chart that has like the handheld on it.
Oh, the handheld. Oh,
I know. I want it. I want that so bad. And then like the new controller with haptics, which I know they've been talking about doing for a while, anecdotally at least. And then just all the different things that they're really trying to build the ecosystem. The one thing though that like kind of sucked though was like the Bethesda timeline stuff, which a lot of that has moved obviously because they still had Starfield coming out in fiscal year 21. So, but they had like Indiana Jones, the next Doom game, which a lot of us thought that id was working on Quake, but now it looks like they're working on a prequel to Doom. Indiana Jones is a trilogy, which would be awesome. A lot of side projects or new projects or remasters, Fallout 3 and Oblivion remaster, which would be cool.
Yeah, both of those were good games. I wouldn't mind going back to Oblivion again.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to see a Morrowind remaster or remake.
Yeah.
That way, those of us who didn't, because Morrowind was only on the Xbox.
It's backwards compatible though, and it runs at 4K 60 or 1440.
I say bring it to a new generation, even though I heard it's like the gameplay is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, but they could update that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they remade it, and also Morrowind recently came to Elder Scrolls Online, which I think that's
Twice.
Yeah.
They had 2 expansions that involved Morrowind.
Yeah,
I believe.
So I think a lot of people, I think that they were hoping that would satiate people. But I'm really interested in the handheld, and I'm really interested in the all digital Series X.
Is it the
but that
round
would
one?
mean, yeah. But that console refresh would be like, they would still have to sell the regular Series X because it's the only console they have with a disc drive, and people still want physical games for some reason. It's I don't know, man. That was weird I guess it was to keep the cost down if you want more storage, right? Like, I mean, that thing would be probably like $650 if you added the disk drive just to make some sort of money on it. But also, I wonder if they're going to experiment with a detachable disk drive, since the disks like only transfer data to the hard drive to play off of now. And like you could very easily do that with a USB-C cord and port and whatever. So it's like the 360 all over again with the HD DVD drive. That thing was awesome.
I also love the little bit of, honestly, it was like, what point did it really have? When they quoted Phil Spencer's email about it being like a big, I forgot what the exact term was, and I'm writing a Boss Rush banter that will go out tomorrow on it. A big movement in business to acquire Nintendo if that were to ever happen.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that whole email chain was leaked.
Yeah.
You would really have to dive deep into it, but it was like some director of content for Microsoft that wasn't involved in Xbox at all. Like, because the way this came out was, this was at the time when the government was really involved in, TikTok, and they don't want Chinese people coming in and like, invading people's privacy or whatever. And like, they were talking about, that TikTok was going to have to sell to somebody.
They just leak someone else's privacy.
I know. But they were telling TikTok that they were going to have to sell off the American side of the brand, and Microsoft wasn't even really interested. But when it became for sale, they became interested because it was for sale, and I think Oracle ended up buying it or something, or I don't even know if anything happened, but I know Oracle was involved in some way. And this email came from that thread of like, we should buy TikTok. And then the content director was like, what about any consumer facing brands in the gaming space? What about Nintendo? And then, Phil Spencer's answer was like, man, that would be a career highlight or whatever, career move. But obviously Nintendo's not going to be easily acquired. So, they're not really on our radar because obviously it's Nintendo. But he said they were paying attention to what Nintendo was doing, and he sees their future being off their own hardware at some point. But like, so is Xbox's. I mean, Microsoft is. Maybe not in the next 10 years or whatever, but all the recent Samsung TVs have an Xbox Game Pass app. That the ROG Ally exists. They have all their games on PC. Like I said earlier, I played most of Beacon Pines on my phone. With the Backbone, and it played great. Their cloud stuff has definitely improved.
Yeah, like when I saw that, I kind of read it a little bit more and figure like, oh, this is going to be all out of context. So any additional news articles that talked about it, I'm like, this is just for fluff. But obviously, I wrote out a banter on it because But if anything, it just made me think of, man, I really hope that we can get Game Pass on the next Nintendo console because like that makes sense from
And
a
I think they want to, right?
partnership perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Microsoft wants Game Pass on everything. I mean,
I
they've
feel
talked
like
about putting.
Microsoft doesn't have to do a console; they win. You
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know,
mean,
Yep.
Microsoft talked about putting their first party games on PlayStation, but PlayStation doesn't want them. Right? There was that whole like when Halo 5 was about to come out on the Xbox One, they were considering porting the Master Chief Collection to PlayStation, and PlayStation didn't want it because they thought Killzone Shadowfall was going to take off and they were going to continue that, and they didn't. Uh, Not that PlayStation doesn't have their exclusives, right? I mean, obviously, they're an exclusive powerhouse, but yeah, they wanted to put. They were even talking about putting Gears 4 on PlayStation, and I think, and the thing is like their messaging is, you know, uh, you can play this game wherever Game Pass exists, right? They want it everywhere. They want it as many places as they can because Microsoft essentially is a subscription company, right? They're a
Yes. Yep.
software and subscription company. They're not a hardware company. I think if they could get away with not making hardware, I think their hardware sells too well to say we're done with hardware, and so many people are invested now in the ecosystem that like if you took the Xbox away, like
Yeah. Might
you're
be some
basically taking
unhappy.
people's digital collections away at some point,
Yep.
and that's a hard pill to swallow this far in.
that is true. With Xbox being one of the best for preserving game history right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, the Xbox Series is still outpacing 360 and Xbox One in sales. So I mean, they're not doing bad, but they're and PlayStation 5 is almost selling 2-1, right? PlayStation announced 40. I think from the estimate, Xbox Series has sold 27 million units or something, and 75% of that was an interesting stat too. Was 75% of all Series consoles are Series S's, which I understand it's cheap. You can usually get it for around $220 on sale a lot of the time. I saw one today that was $250, and you got what was maybe Starfield, maybe it was 250 or something,
Wow.
but still like pretty decent deal unless you want Game Pass, and then you can just get it for 15. But
Was it anywhere in the leaks as to why they might not have gone through with the handheld? Because I actually think if they made a handheld, it would be very successful. Aren't they trying to break into, for example, the Japanese market, and they're really big on handheld.
I know, and I think that's why they want to do that. I think that's the main reason, actually, is because
I don't see them doing good in Japan with the handheld.
I
I
mean,
feel like Japan likes their own technology versus
yeah,
the American made.
that too. But I think having a foothold in Japan, they need one, whether it's large or not. They need one, right? I mean, that's where they're doing the worst. And I think a handheld would, help with some of that. I think the fact that Sony didn't make a proper handheld this generation after the success of the Switch and seeing how successful it was, even 3.5 years after it came out, right, with the PlayStation 5, like they should have been R&Ding some sort of handheld right then that could play, at least your PlayStation 4 games that you own. It's all about like any
Sure you
company
can.
that doesn't do a Steam Deck
Called the
type.
Portal.
Jeez. Any company that doesn't do at least a Steam Deck style handheld where like, yeah, it's not as high resolution. It probably doesn't run at 60 frames a second, but like all of your games are there.
Yep.
So you can play them, I think I think they're making a mistake. And I do think, especially based on this leak. Now, I don't know if the ROG Ally like is their answer to this, just partnering with them, which I hate because it only does your PC library and PC Game Pass, which, it's fine. But like if they were to do a handheld, I would be first in line for that. because like 90% of the time I'm like, man, I wish I could just play something in handheld mode on my Xbox that's like I could actually play, because like a lot of time I wish I had. That's like 99% of the reason why I want a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck is to play Destiny in handheld mode, or like maybe when Forza comes out, I can do a couple races or explore in Starfield or something, and it kind of sucks that I either have to buy a $700 device that's PC only or use the cloud, which is only good for certain games in my opinion. The other thing that was really interesting though was that controller. I hate that it's split colored. It's so ugly. And the fact that it has the rubber grips also angers me. That's a personal thing though, because the rubber is
It's
really
likely that your controller's going to fly out of your hand and break your TV.
That's almost happened before with the first Assassin's Creed final boss.
That was more intentional, right?
No, it just zipped out of my hand and hit my entertainment center and was 5 inches away from my TV and shattered. No big deal. I had anger issues back then. It's fine. Where was I? Oh, the controller is really interesting. I wonder if they'll drop the regular controllers in price, which it kind of seems like they unofficially have, because you can usually get them around $45 to $60 instead
they're
of $75.
regularly on sale now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just saw the white one was $39.99 on Amazon.
You know what? I always hate saying it out loud and admitting it, but now, like, having handled an Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, Switch Joy-Cons, and Pro controller, I would say the most comfortable controller is the Xbox controller.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I do like the D-pad on the Xbox One controllers better than the Series controllers, but that's such a nitpick that you don't even use the D-pad a lot of the times unless you're playing a fighting game. So, and if you're playing a fighting game, you're probably playing on PlayStation, because that D-pad is like the best D-pad in my opinion, this gen at least.
Yeah.
I hate the Switch controller D-pad.
I wonder if that's how it works, because like the Xbox controller is a very bottom-heavy controller.
I know. To make it even more heavy, 2 of my controllers have the chat pad on it, not to use, just to make the controller heavier. But then I can't use wired headphones in it, so it's a give or take, I guess. Anything else about the Xbox stuff that interests anybody? Also, the refresh for the Xbox Series S again, with all USB-C ports, which is interesting.
No, I know we kind of were like, oh, we might not get into this topic, but I'm glad we still kind of got to talk about it while the news was still sort of fresh, because on one hand, I'm very sad for Microsoft that all of this leaked unnecessarily, but just as a consumer of things in the video game industry, I'm intrigued by all this. I just only wish the best for them. I still hope that they can, I don't know, just kind of pick up the pieces and still be successful with them.
Yeah, in my opinion, like, their ecosystem is really coming together. Like Pat said, they do the best job with game preservation, especially their first party stuff, which is like hilarious, because Xbox probably has the least important first party, except for like Halo and Gears, right? And I guess Forza, but and like Game Pass is such a great idea, even though LeRon and I discussed this at some point, but PlayStation Plus Premium for a year is actually cheaper than Game Pass if you pay month to month. Game Pass Ultimate, I should say.
Wait, even after the price increase?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's still like $25 cheaper a year.
Yeah, but you're also getting not as good stuff.
Yeah.
Like you get, I don't know. I feel like Game Pass has a better library than the PlayStation.
See, I aside from like first party stuff being there, I would actually almost disagree. I mean, I think the extra tier on PlayStation is like top notch in terms of the games that I like to play, but I don't ever play my PlayStation. So a lot like the only thing with Game Pass Ultimate though is that you get EA Play for free too. So, and
does that also come with games with gold? I already forget. No,
You
okay,
have to have
so
Game Pass Ultimate.
that's what I'm saying. It's on Ultimate though.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and then obviously you get like the cloud stuff and the
Yep.
PC and console and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think their game. I think like especially if they made some sort of handheld, like oh my gosh, they'd have like the ultimate ecosystem. But the games still need to show up. You know, like the major games that everybody talks about. Like I love the games that Xbox puts out, but like you know, when something like Psychonauts or Hi-Fi Rush comes out, it's not like something that PlayStation said, or even something like Pentiment 2 is like everybody's like, oh, those aren't real games, or you know, and then like after those three games come out, something like God of War comes out, or Horizon, or you know, and it's like, well, obviously those games are AAA bangers, you know, in most respects, and it's like, yeah, the only two we've really had this gen were like Halo Infinite and Forza, which are both amazing games, but like everybody got mad because Infinite it didn't have a roadmap for multiplayer, you know.
Well, kind of to use your words from when you and Ed did that reaction to the latest Nintendo Direct, like it's just that those games that you mentioned, like Pentiment, they're games. You know, and they should be recognized as good games that Xbox offer, but they're not the tent pole games. I guess is what people were
Yeah.
expecting. Which, by the way, because Starfield was the latest one, are you done with Starfield right now? Or for
Oh
now?
yeah, I uninstalled it.
Oh,
I don't.
okay. Because I
I
remember
beat
you
it.
saying it's just not for you.
Yeah, I actually think it's probably Bethesda's best game, like in Bethesda Game Studios' best game that they've done in a while, a long time.
I
But
would agree.
I've just come to the conclusion that Bethesda RPGs are just not my thing. The things I'm excited about from Bethesda, though, would be stuff from like id, like Doom is amazing. Machine Games, Wolfenstein. If they nail Indiana Jones, that would be amazing. You know, Arcane does some great stuff, right? I mean, those are the games that are exciting to me from Bethesda. Though, you know, obviously the Bethesda Game Studio is always going to be like their flagship studio, and those games are going to be their flagship games and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Microsoft is just struggling to put tentpole games out, right? I mean, obviously now they have Starfield and Forza's coming out, you know, in like a couple weeks, which is pretty exciting. But then they don't have anything until Towerborn in January, and then Hellblade will be next year. I think next year is really when you're going to start seeing some bangers pop out, you know.
Well, let's hope for some more sizzling trailers at the Game Awards. I guess that's where we're going to see it next, right?
Well, no. Next is tomorrow at
Tokyo
Tokyo
Game Show.
But you think Microsoft will have big announcements there?
They said this is their biggest show ever at Tokyo Game Show.
Which means RPGs.
Yeah, I think Sega's going to have a lot of stuff for them there.
Okay.
And I've heard Bandai Namco is working on a Killer Instinct game. You know, I think they're going to try to pull some Japanese companies to put some of their games on Game Pass. Fantasia.
Maybe we'll find out when Square Enix is going to release Final Fantasy VII.
I know a lot of people are thinking that. I don't think so, but a lot of people are thinking the Final Fantasy VII remake is going to be announced there for Xbox for next year.
Okay.
Although it'll probably come out after Rebirth. And I mean, here's the thing though, Xbox people, we're in the minority, right, of having multiple consoles, every console, right, at some point, or some version of the console. But a lot of people only buy one console, right? And they'll stick to that console. And if you buy an Xbox and that's your only console, you don't get access to these games, you know? The other thing is that Forspoken's exclusivity window is up next year too. And a lot of people think that that's going to come over.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But like Final Fantasy VII on Xbox would be huge for Xbox fans, you know?
Yeah.
And that would definitely fill a gap, a need for Xbox, right? I mean, PlayStation gets a lot of the JRPGs
on Game Pass.
I know that's what people are thinking too. But the other thing that the rumor is Fantasian, the Mistwalker RPG on phones, got rated for console in certain regions, and a lot of people think that they're going to try to partner with Mistwalker again and bring that game to Game Pass.
That would be awesome.
Oh man, dude, I love Mistwalker. I wish they would do more than just mobile games now. Lost Odyssey was so good. Last Story was so good.
You forgot Blue Dragon.
I said the good games. It's fine. Blue Dragon was an interesting first attempt.
It was all right. The battles took too long.
Yeah. Man, if you haven't played Lost Odyssey, though.
Oh, that game's awesome.
Oh my gosh, it's the best Final Fantasy game that's not called Final Fantasy. Makes sense, though, because that whole team kind of left Square Enix to go make their own thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. I doubt there's going to be anything meaningful there, unfortunately. But I would say there's going to be one or two surprises.
I will be interested in finding out because, that's more my forte.
Yeah.
Speaking of awesome forte news, Like a Dragon 8, Infinite Wealth, January 28th.
I haven't played any of those games. I want to. But
I'm just shocked at how soon it's
Yeah, it's very
out.
close. Yeah.
Because we're still waiting for Gaiden, which is kind of a prequel to Infinite Wealth. In fact, if you beat the Like a Dragon Gaiden, you unlock a demo that is like the prelude to Infinite Wealth.
Oh, okay. That I didn't
Interesting.
know. That now that makes the timeline even more like, okay, it's coming up quick.
Yep,
you want to hear some other exciting news, Pat?
sure.
The Bluey game is coming out in November.
Oh
Dude.
boy.
That's exciting.
I'm very excited. I'm more excited than any adult should be. Tell you.
I don't know what Bluey's about, but apparently
It's about a family of dogs who just goof around.
Hmm.
Telling you should watch. I bet if you watch 5 episodes, you would be hooked, Pat.
I suffered through some Bluey with my son, and it's out of all the garbage that's out there, it's actually pretty good. I like it.
nice.
It's the creator described it as a cartoon for adults that their kids can watch. Because like when you really pay attention to the
They do have some mature. When I mean mature themes, I'm not talking about drug and sex. Mature meaning like just cerebral maturity.
There's an episode about death. There's an episode about the mom's sister can't have babies. Like there's all kinds of weird stuff in Bluey if you're paying attention. It's awesome
Okay.
though.
Yeah, I'll assuming it's a decent price, I might be willing to
It's $40.
check it out. Okay, that's a decent
Book
price.
club.
Dude, we could all play it together because it's 4-player.
Oh my god.
We're getting it on
Wow.
Switch so my daughter can play. Like, we're getting it for her for Hanukkah, and I feel like this is the game that's going to hook her into video games. Thinking forward, you know.
Wish you
Anyways,
luck there.
enough of that. I should put Bluey on the thumbnail. I already created the thumbnail, but we should put Bluey on it.
I
And
like
the
their theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hearing it in my head right now.
hmm
Mom. And then Dad. Okay, sorry.
Riley always
So
wants
I
to
know
play
we-
keepy uppies, which is like keep the balloon in the air as long as you can.
So I know we're kind of like towards the end here of this episode, but I'm just curious. Were there any announcements that you guys like particularly liked in the last direct and State of Play?
I didn't really watch the state of play, to be honest. I mean, they said third-party updates, and Helldivers I think looks cool, but they're putting it out to die. I feel like in February, so you know.
I mean, I am looking forward to the DLC to Resident Evil 4, but that's kind of like, whatever.
Should we do a follow-up?
Actually, I think that comes out this week. Actually,
Should we do a book club follow-up, like halfway through October for that?
we could.
We could.
Yeah.
Since we did the campaign, I think it'd be cool. Like mid-month. How long is it? I mean, I don't know how long it
It
is.
shouldn't be terribly long. I can't imagine more than like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a nice little mini one, and it's very timely given October. Spooky.
Yeah, and then we would just put it out for everyone for free because we usually do like a month early for book club, but this one's
There we go. There's our spoopy.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Like legit spoopy, not like paranormal spoopy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As far as the Nintendo Direct, it's one of those directs where I think it's fine considering that the Switch is on its last legs, no matter when you think the next console will come out in the next 2 years. It's definitely very Mario heavy. Makes sense given the movie and being an entertainment whatever. I'm excited for the remake for Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I'm glad that Mario vs. Donkey Kong's coming out, although it might not be the game for me. The Princess Peach game looks cool. I don't know if I'll eventually buy it, but I appreciated the direction that they're going with it.
Yeah, the stage show thing with the costume changes sounds like a really cool mechanic. It kind of almost reminds me of Puppeteer on PlayStation 3. Like the stage show aspect, not the costume changes. But
the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 was interesting.
The wrong Tomb Raider games to put on there.
Right.
Introducing it to a new gen.
Yeah, which will make nobody want to ever buy Tomb Raider again.
They said there's supposed to be quality of life changes.
We'll see.
So,
I mean, I would have taken the Legend trilogy over this. I mean, I think the Legend trilogy is really good for that era, but it's just me. I mean, in terms of the Direct, I really feel like this was the first Direct where I couldn't really pinpoint something for me. I'm like, usually if I see at least two things for me, I'm satisfied with the Direct. I'm not one of these idiots who's like, "Whoa, that Direct sucked. I'm not into every single game that they showed." Right? But I kind of went in with low expectations anyway because they did the Mario Wonder Direct by itself. So I was like, well, that was the Direct I thought was awesome because that's my most anticipated game for the rest of the year. But like, I know Paper Mario, a lot of people are excited for. I'd never played it. So I would be interested in checking it out, but I wasn't like waving the flag for it. I've never played Mario RPG either. And I think that, I will probably try to play that as well. I actually think my favorite game shown was Luigi's Mansion. Because I think Dark Moon is the best Luigi's Mansion, but I hurt my hands.
I will agree with you.
It hurt my hands because it was on 3DS and I never finished it. But what I played, I thought, man, this is definitely a huge step up from 1. I really liked 3, but I still think 2 is better. What else was even announced at the Direct or shown? I guess
a couple RPG news. They announced the Uden Chronicles release date, which was pretty awesome. So that's coming out here soon. And then you also had the Unicorn Overlords by Vanillaware.
That looked awesome, but it's just the title threw me off in the beginning. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, they. That's a pretty interesting title. And also, I'm kind of excited for another Code Recollection because I remember having the first one, but I don't remember a damn thing about that game when I had it for the DS. So, you know what? Give it another shot.
That new Saga game looked really bad.
Yeah. I don't know. The Sagas, you have to really like non-linear games to enjoy the Saga series.
Yeah, I liked the first one, but also I was young and never played an RPG really before, except for the Final Fantasy game. So I was like, meh, whatever.
And you know what? Mario and Donkey Kong, or Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
that game's my jam.
Yeah, that game looks rad. I also liked that they had the Prince of Persia game there, just because like they have rarely shown. I don't know if they've shown Switch footage yet, but that game looks really awesome. I'm really excited for that game. What else was shown at the State of Play?
State of Play. The shocker for me was Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Like a DLC announced 2 years after the game came out.
Yeah, I will be playing that. I love Tales of Arise.
I'm hearing that this is supposed to be 20 to 30 hours long.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, from what I heard, they just decided to do DLC instead of a whole new sequel. So, which would make sense for that game. I think a sequel at least, but the DLC will definitely,
Yeah. It's funny how they described where it's placed on the game. They're like, it takes place after the final battle, but before the last cutscene.
Yeah.
It's very specific.
Yeah. Well, they want to make sure
Spoiler
you know
alerts, last
you
cutscene, the
you
main
know.
character and the girl get married. So
At least it's not the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC where you literally play through the end of the game again with a different character.
that
Oh.
was so stupid, and it cost $40
I know.
for that, and it was like 3 hours long.
Yeah. You also got the digital soundtrack though on your console. Oh man, Kingdom
And
Hearts,
also
man.
the
It's a great series.
Final Fantasy.
Everybody should play Kingdom Hearts.
1 and 2.
It's alright.
That's it.
Yep.
Birth by Sleep 2. That game's awesome. This the prequel.
Oh, if only
Essentially-
LeRon was here to talk about Kingdom Hearts, because, yeah.
I know.
I love Kingdom Hearts. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's good.
I'm excited for the Sora amiibo.
Yeah, I know. That thing's gonna sell out in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I wanted the
I want-
Xenoblade ones, but I wasn't like dying to get them. I did pre-order the Zelda one.
Did the Xenoblades actually pre-order now?
No, they're
No,
sold
they didn't.
out everywhere. They sold out in
I
like
don't know,
6
I would-
minutes.
I would have liked Noah, but I don't really need Mio.
Yeah. I think there's more interesting characters than them. I mean, I know this is the Smash set, but isn't it?
Yeah.
No, those are the Xenoblade set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those two are Xenoblade.
Man, all these amiibo, I can't keep track.
Well, and the Zelda ones, they're just like November 3rd. And then later on, I found out what they were going to do, and it was just going to get you a sailcloth for each. And obviously I still pre-ordered them because they look amazing, and the only amiibos that I care about collecting are the Zelda ones, so I just did it
Mhm.
for that reason. But I can't help but feel really disappointed that's all it did. I know that there's no DLC planned, which is also fine. So I figured if you're not having DLC and you're now pushing out these 2 amiibo now, I kind of wish, I don't know, it gave something
Mhm.
other than a sailcloth.
Yeah. I only pre-ordered the Zelda one. I didn't get the Ganon one.
Zelda looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm still mad that they wouldn't let you use the Wolf Link as a companion. I'm
That
still
would
really
have
mad
been
about
the
that.
best.
I'm so salty about that. It was the only way to play Breath of the Wild. It was awesome. But I digress. Yeah, I'm
Final
kind of
Fantasy,
like
guys.
I'm a little bit shocked they didn't have like a. I mean, I guess Paper Mario was their one more thing, but I'm shocked they didn't have like like at least a mediocre sized announcement in that thing, right?
It was very tame, very safe.
I thought the shoo-in for this would be the Metroid Prime 2 and 3
Mhm.
games.
It was either going to be Metroid Prime 2 and 3 or the Zelda ports that I wish. At least one or the other. And I'm like, dang, neither. Okay.
You feel like I was gonna say, you feel like a remake would be the last thing, but it was technically the last thing. Just a different remake.
I still think the Zelda games are coming to Switch, especially if especially if the next console, which by the way, the code name was leaked in the Xbox filings, by the way, because they had some Activision Blizzard stuff in there, and Activision was briefed in the fall of 2022 about this console, and because I guess Nintendo kind of wanted Call of Duty on the Switch, and like that's when what's his dumb face, Bobby Kotick, said like, yeah, we really missed the boat by not putting games on Switch, because they could have made a lot of money. And I'm like, Call of Duty's an online game, probably wouldn't do very well. But yeah, they were briefed, and the code name is Switch NG, which tells me that it's essentially just a more powerful Switch, which we kind of thought that, I think. But there's something else I was going to say. What was I going to say? I got distracted.
You were about to talk about Final Fantasy.
No.
Yes.
That's not it.
Well, you were talking about
Yes.
like the Metroid 2, Prime 2, 3, or
Oh.
Zelda ports.
Right. Zelda ports. I think the Zelda ports are coming to Switch because this console is going to be backwards compatible.
I feel like it's coming. I was just kind of hoping they would have
Mhm.
either that or Metroid Prime. It's one of those things where that and the showcase as well, where I did not expect a lot at either this time of year or just the console, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it's the entitled gamer in me, where I'm like, come on, give me at least one zinger here.
Yeah,
I have plenty to play.
I kind of feel like, I mean, there's always some sort of direct at the end of the year, right? I know Nintendo said, especially when Furukawa took over, he said he wanted one Zelda product a year.
No. I thought there was only usually an indie direct at the end of the year. Usually the next Nintendo Direct's February, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Man, I don't know, because maybe it's not every winter, but like that's where Bayonetta and New Super Mario Brothers were announced, was at the direct that was right after the Game
Bayonetta
Awards.
was announced at Game Awards.
No, the
I thought the new one was also announced at Game Awards.
the new one was. Oh, did they announce all three of them there?
I thought Origins was announced at.
No, I mean the ports of 1 and 2.
Oh. 2.
I don't, because they came together.
Yeah, that I don't know. I know 3 and
I don't remember. I don't even know
Origins
what I did
were
yesterday. This knowledge, man. I've really, by the way, side tangent, and then we'll get out of here because we've been going kind of long. But like,
but we didn't talk about Final Fantasy.
what do you want to talk about Final Fantasy for?
It was so freaking awesome, guys.
I didn't watch it.
Cloud on a Segway? Or, yeah. No?
Are Segways cool again? I remember they were in like 2001.
They are now. That Cloud had one.
Doesn't
And Sephiroth with his beautiful hair.
You got that statue, which I'm excited for you.
I got a hold of the collector's edition, the $350 collector's edition that comes with 19 inches of Sephiroth,
right
and
after
all his
19 inches of
glory.
Venom?
But,
That's good. Oh, between that and your Final Fantasy 16 thing that you have,
it's the same type of statue too, the same maker.
nice. That's going to be gorgeous, dude.
It's going to have the fires around the pillar. He's going to have his wing extended and his sword,
There's not a lot of statues I would be willing to pay extra for in like a certain edition, but I gotta admit, when I saw the Sephiroth one, obviously I saw it way too late, so I just kind of like whatever. But I'm like, that's worth the money.
That's a Sephiroth statue for sure.
I've still never played Final Fantasy VII.
You know what? You should get on it. We should have a book club of Final Fantasy VII so that we can have a book club of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
It's all right, Pat. We'll just keep
club of Final Fantasy VII Intermission.
We'll just keep nagging him, and eventually he'll break. Just takes time.
7's so good. And then they had the singer from the Honeybee Club, and now we gotta wonder, what's he doing there?
Yeah.
The Honeybee Club scene was like one of the best surprises in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's the scene. That's the scene where
game.
That's the scene where Cloud
gets turned into a lady.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fun.
But it was stylish and cool.
Man. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
Oh.
No, I got my Final Fantasy. I'm good.
It was a delightful chat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, LeRon, you missed a good chat. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of the Boss Rush Podcast. You can find new episodes every Monday. You get it a week early on Patreon. You can find all of our content on bossrush.net. Pat, Stephanie, appreciate your time this evening. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.